Hey, welcome to BL Story. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really encourages my work and helps me bring you more stories. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. He cried when he thought I was asleep. I was never asleep. So I did the only thing a 7-year-old could do. I wrote to the kings and asked them to fix it. The man on the restricted floor said I wasn't supposed to be there. He was right. What neither of us knew yet was that someone had been counting on exactly that. The pharmacy receipt says counter 7. My fingers trace the folded paper one more time, feeling the slight indentations where the printer pressed too hard. Counter 7. I've memorized the layout of Crescent Medical Center over the past month. 32 steps from the entrance to the main corridor. Left turn, 18 steps to the elevator bank. But today the elevators are under maintenance. A sign someone told me when I bumped into it. Temporary staircase access only. I hate stairs. Not because I can't climb them, I can. But stairs in unfamiliar buildings are a different kind of challenge when you're blind. Every step a small negotiation between trust and terror. My name is Ryo. I'm 24 years old, I've been blind for 6 weeks, and I'm still pretending I have everything under control. I don't. My white cane finds the first step. I count carefully, hand trailing the railing, moving slowly enough that 2 people pass me with impatient footsteps. That's fine. Let them pass. I'm not a race. I'm just a person trying to pick up his younger brother's medication without having a breakdown in a public stairwell. 3rd floor, counter 7, simple. Except when I push through what I'm certain is the 3rd floor door, something is immediately wrong. The air is different. Not the sharp antiseptic smell of the pharmacy floor. This is warmer. Rich. The scent of expensive coffee and leather and paper. Quiet in a different way, like a library rather than a waiting room. I've gone to the wrong floor. Can I help you? The voice comes from my left. Deep, unhurried, with the kind of controlled calm that usually means someone is used to being the most important person in any room. My Omega instincts register it before my brain does. Alpha, significant alpha. The kind that makes the air feel heavier just by existing in it. I think I'm on the wrong floor, I say carefully. I'm looking for the pharmacy, counter 7. That's 1 floor down. A pause. How did you get up here? This level requires a key card. I hold up my cane slightly. I took the stairs, I must have miscounted. Another pause, longer this time. I hear a chair shift, then footsteps approaching. Measured, unhurried. The scent gets stronger as he comes closer. Rain-soaked cedar and something darker underneath. Expensive, controlled, and unmistakably overwhelmingly alpha. I'll take you down, he says. I'm fine, I say immediately. Force of habit. 6 weeks of refusing help I desperately need because accepting it feels like admitting something I'm not ready to admit. That I need people now, that I can't do everything alone anymore. You're on a restricted floor, the voice says, not unkindly. I'm not offering out of pity. I'm required to escort anyone without clearance back to public access. That's a more dignified framing, I can accept that. Okay, I say, thank you. His name is Sable. He tells me this in the elevator, the one that apparently works fine for key card holders, with the same tone someone might use to state a fact about the weather. Not introducing himself as a courtesy, just providing information. Ryo, I say back, I'm here picking up medication for my brother. How old is your brother? 8. Silence, the elevator moves. It's fast and smooth and smells like him, cedar and rain filling the small space. I find myself breathing more carefully than usual. What's his name? Sable asks. I glance toward where I think his face is, an odd question from a stranger. Hana, I say, why? No reason, but something in his voice shifts almost imperceptibly. I've learned to listen to voices very carefully over the past 6 weeks. When you can't see faces, voices become everything, and his just did something complicated. The elevator opens, the pharmacy smell rushes in, antiseptic and familiar. Counter 7 is straight ahead, then left, Sable says, about 20 steps. Thank you, I say again. I step out, the doors begin to close. Ryo, his voice just before the doors shut completely. I turn, yes. Be careful on the stairs when you leave. A pause. Take the elevator, tell them at the desk that Sable Voss authorized you. Then the doors close and he's gone. I stand there for a moment, aware that my heart is doing something strange and unnecessary, and tell it firmly to stop. I don't think about Sable Voss for the rest of the day. This is mostly a lie. Hana is waiting at home with our neighbor Mrs. Aoki, who watches him on the days I have to go out alone. He's been sick for 3 weeks. A respiratory infection that his small body keeps fighting off and then surrendering to again. The doctors say it's manageable. They say this every visit, and every visit I leave feeling like the word manageable is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Our apartment is small. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen that doubles as a living room, a bathroom with a broken towel rack that I keep meaning to fix. I know every step of it by memory now, not just 6 weeks blind memory, but years of memory. We've lived here since Hana was 2. Since our parents decided separately and then together that they didn't want us anymore. I'm not bitter about it. I've had 6 years to not be bitter. I give Hana his medication. He takes it without complaint, which is how I know he feels genuinely terrible, because normally he negotiates like a small, exhausted lawyer. I make soup from memory, sit on the edge of his bed and listen to him breathe while he falls asleep. He sounds better tonight, small mercy. After he's asleep, I sit in the kitchen and let myself be still for the first time all day. The darkness is the same whether my eyes are open or closed now. I used to find that disturbing. Lately, I've started to find it almost peaceful. The world is dark and I'm in it, and I'm still here. My phone buzzes. The screen reader announces an unknown number. I almost don't answer. Unknown numbers are usually problems. Hello. Ryo, not a question. He already knows it's me. This is Sable Voss. We met this afternoon. I grip the phone slightly tighter. I know who you are. I have a question. Still that same measured tone, like everything he says has been considered twice before it leaves his mouth. Your brother's name is Hana. He's 8 years old and he's been a patient at Crescent Medical for the past 3 weeks. The cold that moves through me is instant. How do you know that? I run the medical research division on the 4th floor, Sable says. I had access to patient intake records. I want to be transparent about that before I say anything else. You looked up my brother's medical records. My voice comes out very flat. I looked up his name, nothing more, because… A pause, the first hesitation I've heard from him. Because his case file was flagged in our research system 6 days ago, and I needed to know if the Ryo who walked onto my floor today was connected to Hana Chen, age 8, flagged patient. Flagged for what? Another pause, longer. That's what I need to talk to you about, he says. In person, not over the phone. I don't sleep well. This is not unusual. I haven't slept well in 6 weeks. But tonight the insomnia has sharper edges. Hana's file was flagged. Flagged means noticed. Flagged means something is different about his case, something that drew attention from a medical research division on a restricted floor of the building where we get his prescriptions. Flagged can mean a lot of things, I know this. I've spent the night reminding myself of this. It doesn't help. At 7 in the morning, Hana wakes up and tells me he had a dream about a blue dragon. I make him toast. He eats half of it, which is more than yesterday. I consider this a victory. Mrs. Aoki arrives at 9. I leave for Crescent Medical at 9:15, taking the long route because I know it better, counting steps and turns with the precision I've developed out of necessity. 38 steps from our building's front door to the corner. Left turn. Bus stop 14 paces ahead. Sable Voss meets me in the lobby. I know it's him before he speaks. Cedar and rain, unmistakable now that I've cataloged it. Thank you for coming, he says. Tell me about my brother's file, I say. No small talk, no time. He's quiet for a moment, then, come upstairs, there's someone you need to meet. The 4th floor smells different in daylight. Or maybe I'm just paying more attention. Wood polish and coffee, and beneath it all something that makes my Omega instincts shift uneasily. Another alpha nearby, different from Sable. Where Sable is rain and cedar, this one is warm amber and smoke, like a fire that's been carefully banked. My brother, Sable says, Kane. Half-brother, another voice corrects. Also deep but lighter than Sable's. Something almost amused living at the edges of it despite the seriousness of the moment. We share a father and absolutely nothing else, which he'll tell you himself shortly. Kane runs the clinical side, Sable says, ignoring this entirely. He's the one who flagged Hana's case. I turn toward the amber smoke scent. Why was my brother flagged? Because, Kane says, and his voice goes carefully gentle in a way that makes my chest tighten, his respiratory infection isn't a standard infection. We've seen this pattern before, 8 times before, in fact, in the past 2 years. The room goes very quiet around me, or maybe that's just my own heartbeat getting louder. What pattern? I ask. Children, Sable says, between the ages of 6 and 10. Omega children specifically, recurring respiratory infections that don't fully respond to standard treatment. Always in this district. Always traced back to a specific environmental compound. A compound that someone is releasing deliberately, Kane adds quietly. We've been trying to prove it for 14 months. I sit down. I don't remember deciding to sit down, but suddenly I'm in a chair and both of them are nearby, their scents surrounding me, and I'm trying to process the fact that my brother's illness is not bad luck. Someone is doing this. Someone is making Hana sick. Who? My voice sounds strange to my own ears, too calm, the calm that comes before something breaks. That, Sable says, is what we've been trying to find out, and Ryo. He pauses. The fact that you walked onto my floor yesterday, we don't think that was an accident. I look up toward his voice. What do you mean? We mean, Kane says carefully, that someone may have known you'd be there, that you being on that floor on that specific day may have been arranged, to see how much we know, to test whether we'd react. I miscounted stairs, I say. I'm blind, I miscounted stairs. We know, Sable says, and his voice is very gentle. We're not saying you did anything wrong, we're saying someone may have been watching you for longer than you realize. The silence stretches, then I ask the only question that matters. Is my brother going to be okay? Neither of them answers immediately. That answer in itself is an answer. Not without help, Kane finally says, but with the right treatment? A pause. Treatment that we have been developing for the past year, treatment that works. We've tested it. We just haven't been able to administer it broadly because the people responsible for the compound keep finding ways to interfere. They've tried to shut down our research 3 times, Sable says, twice through legal pressure, once. His voice goes flat, not through legal pressure. Someone tried to hurt you, I say. Someone tried to kill us, Kane says pleasantly, as though this is a mildly interesting fact about his week. They failed, we're persistent. I sit with all of this. The darkness around me feels different now, heavier, more populated with things I can't see. What do you need from me? I ask finally. Right now, Sable says, nothing. We need you to let us run a full workup on Hana. Confirm he's a match for the treatment protocol. If he is, we can start immediately. And if he is a match and you start treatment, I say carefully, what happens to us? If someone is already watching me, if they already know I was on your floor. Another silence, this one has weight to it. Then you're not safe at home anymore, Kane says quietly, and we'd need to talk about that. You need to talk about that, I repeat. Yes. I think about Hana asleep in his small bed, his blue dragon dream, the half-eaten toast, the sound of his breathing that's been wrong for 3 weeks and that I've been pretending doesn't terrify me. When can you see him? I ask. Today, Sable says immediately, right now if you'll allow it. I stand up, grip my cane, turn toward the door. Then let's go, I say. Now please hit that subscribe button, it's completely free, and I wanted to ask you about past commit in commit section. I am promising you I will read every single commit and try to reply to it. Hana decides immediately that Kane is his favorite person. This happens within approximately 4 minutes of the meeting, which is faster than Hana has ever warmed to anyone in his entire 8 years of careful, watchful life. My brother does not trust easily. He learned that lesson the same way I did, from the same people, in the same small apartment where trust kept getting handed out and handed back damaged. But Kane crouches down to Hana's eye level in our living room and says, very seriously, I heard you had a dream about a blue dragon. What was his name? And something in my brother simply unlocks. I didn't give him a name yet, Hana says, suspicious but interested. You're supposed to wait until you know someone before you name them. That's very wise, Kane says. How do you get to know a dragon? You have to sit with them for a while, Hana explains, and bring them something they like, Dragons like shiny things and also warm places. The blue ones especially like cold water too, because blue means water dragon. I didn't know that, Kane says. Most people don't, Hana agrees solemnly. I'm standing in the kitchen doorway listening to this and feeling something complicated happening in my chest. Sable is beside me, close enough that I can feel the warmth coming off him. He hasn't said anything for a few minutes, just standing, present. He's good with children, I say quietly. He's good with everyone, Sable says, and there's something layered in his voice. Not resentment exactly, something more like old, settled fact. It's profoundly irritating. Despite everything, I almost smile. The medical examination is gentle. Kane explains every step before he does it, checking with Hana at each point, making it feel less like a clinical procedure and more like a collaborative project they're undertaking together. My brother is a serious participant. He asks questions about the equipment. He wants to know what each reading means. Kane answers everything truthfully and at exactly the right level of complexity for an 8-year-old who is, I have always known, significantly smarter than most people give him credit for. Sable guides me to the couch while this happens, sits beside me, not touching but close. He's remarkable, Sable says quietly, meaning Hana. I know, I say. How long have you been raising him alone? Since he was 2, I keep my voice neutral. This is not a story I tell for sympathy, it's just the shape of my life. Our mother left first, our father 8 months later. Different reasons, same result. And your blindness, Sable says carefully, 6 weeks. Yes. What happened? I'm quiet for a moment, not because the question offends me, because the answer still feels like pressing on a bruise. I was attacked, I say finally. Coming home from a night shift, someone put a chemical compound directly into my eyes. The damage was, I start again. The doctors said it shouldn't be permanent, that with the right treatment sight could be restored. But the treatment is expensive and the waiting list is long, and I've been more focused on Hana. The silence from Sable is different from other people's silences when I tell this story. Most people fill it with sorry or that's terrible or some version of performed sympathy that I've learned to receive gracefully without actually feeling. Sable's silence feels like he's thinking. Actually thinking, processing, connecting things. The compound used on you, he says slowly. Did the doctors give you any information about what it was? I frown, a corrosive agent of some kind. They were vague. Why? Because, Sable says, and his voice has gone very careful and very controlled, the compound being used on the children in this district. It has a secondary formulation, a concentrated version. He pauses. Ryo, I need to ask you something and I need you to answer honestly. I generally do. In the weeks before you were attacked, were you asking questions about Hana's illness, about why children in this area kept getting sick, about whether there was a pattern? My heart does something slow and terrible. I talked to 3 other parents at Hana's school, I say quietly. We noticed our children were all sick at the same time. I started writing things down. Names, dates, symptoms. I was going to take it too. I stop. Someone didn't want me to take it anywhere. No, Sable says, they didn't. The room feels very still. From across the apartment, I can hear Kane asking Hana about the water dragon's preferred habitat, and Hana explaining, with great authority, that blue dragons live near rivers, but only cold ones because warm rivers belong to the gold dragons, and everyone knows that. My hands are very still in my lap. I'm doing the thing I do when I need to not fall apart, which is to focus on sounds. Hana's voice, Kane's responses, the ordinary small music of my brother being a child for a few minutes. They blinded me, I say, to stop me from finding out what they were doing to the children. Yeah, Sable says. And Hana's been sick because of the same people. Yes. And you've been investigating this for 14 months, and you're only now finding me. A pause. We found your incident report 8 months ago, Sable says carefully. We didn't know who you were in relation to the case. We knew an adult Omega had been attacked with a derivative of the compound. We didn't know you were the sibling of one of the affected children until Hana's file was flagged last week. Because the same people are watching both of us, I say. We believe so, yes. I breathe in, breathe out, cedar and rain, strangely steadying. Tell me about the treatment, I say, for Hana. The treatment is elegant. Kane explains it that evening while Hana sleeps on our couch under a blanket Kane produced from somewhere, which Hana has already decided belongs to him now. Gene therapy combined with a cellular flush that removes the compound's residue from the respiratory system. 4 sessions over 2 weeks. By the end, the damage reverses entirely. What's the success rate, I ask. With the 7 children we've treated so far, Kane says, 100%. 7 children, I say, you said 8 cases. A brief pause, the 8th child, Kane says, and his voice goes quiet, came to us too late. The weight of that sits in the room with us. How late is too late, I ask. Hana isn't there, Sable says immediately, firmly, like he needs me to hear this before anything else. His case is serious, but it's not advanced. We caught it in time, that's the important thing. Start tomorrow, I say. We'd like to, Kane says, but there's a conversation we need to have first. About safety, because if the people responsible for the compound know that Hana is being treated, and they will know they have sources inside Crescent Medical we've identified 2 already. Then they'll try to stop it, I say. Yes. And they'll come after us. Possibly. I sit with this, what are you suggesting? We have a residential facility, Sable says, connected to the 4th floor research suite but separate, secure. We've used it before when witnesses or patients needed protection. You and Hana would stay there during the treatment period. 2 weeks. After that, we'd work on a longer-term solution. You want us to move in with you, I say flatly. Into a secure facility adjacent to where we work, Sable says with what sounds like careful precision. It's not. He's asking you to move in with us, Kane says cheerfully. He's just using more words to say it. We are not, Sable says with the energy of someone who has this argument regularly and loses regularly, the same person. We live in the same building. Different floors. It's the same building, Sable. Different, Sable says with great finality, floors. I find to my complete surprise that I'm actually smiling. Not almost smiling, actually smiling. It arrives without permission, called up by the specific absurdity of 2 grown alpha men having a definitional argument about their living arrangements while discussing a criminal conspiracy. I'll think about it, I say. Of course, Sable says. Think quickly, Kane adds. We'd feel much better with you somewhere we can keep an eye on things. I think about our apartment, the familiar distances and counted steps and the specific acoustics of the kitchen that I've memorized. The broken towel rack, the neighborhood I've navigated by memory for 6 years, now by Kane for 6 weeks. I think about Hana, his breathing, the half-eaten toast, the 8-year-old currently asleep on a borrowed blanket with his hands curled under his chin. I'll need to pack some things, I say. We move the next morning. It doesn't take long, we don't have much. Hana's dragon books, his medication, his blanket, now definitively his blanket, my cane and my phone and the small notebook where I used to write things down before I lost my sight and now keep for other reasons, habit mostly, the familiar weight of it in my hands. Sable carries the bags, I don't argue about this, practical is practical. The residential suite is on the 4th floor, east wing. Sable walks me through it carefully, describing each room as we enter, letting me build the map in my head. 2 bedrooms, a shared sitting area, a kitchen, a bathroom with, I note with something like relief, towel racks that are firmly attached to the wall. Is this acceptable? Sable asks, standing in the center of the sitting room while I complete my circuit of it. It's larger than our apartment, I say. Is that a yes? It's an observation. I pause at the window, can't see through it but can feel the warmth of morning light against my face. Yes, it's acceptable, thank you. He's quiet for a moment, then I should tell you something. I turn toward him. The attack on you 8 months ago, he says. When we found the incident report, I pushed to prioritize finding the victim. Finding you, my team told me we didn't have the resources to track down every person connected to the case. He pauses. I should have pushed harder. You deserve to know what happened to you and why, and you went 8 months without knowing, and I another pause, shorter. I'm sorry for that. I stand very still. Outside, I can hear the building, the soft machinery of a large structure going about its day. Somewhere nearby, Kane is setting up Hana's first treatment session. My brother's voice floats down the corridor, asking whether the medical equipment has a name and whether he should give it one. You didn't know I existed, I say carefully. No, Sable says, but someone did, and they knew you were getting close to something, and they hurt you to stop you, and then they just… He stops. Continued, while you were trying to figure out how to pick up your brother's medication on the wrong staircase. The rawness in his voice is unexpected. I've been cataloging his voice since the elevator, building a picture of him from sound and scent and the weight of words. He's controlled, precise, not cold exactly but contained, like someone who learned early that feelings were most useful when managed carefully. This is not managed, this is something escaping the management. Sable, I say. Yes. You're apologizing for something that isn't your fault. I know, he says, I'm doing it anyway. I consider this. Then I cross the room toward him, navigating the unfamiliar space with the careful confidence I've been building for 6 weeks, and I hold out my hand. He takes it. His hand is large, warm, the grip careful in a way that tells me he's very aware of his own strength and working not to use it. We stand there for a moment, just that, his hand around mine. Start my brother's treatment, I say, and then help me figure out who did this. Yes, Sable says, and then quieter, both of those things, I promise. Hana's first treatment session takes 3 hours. I sit outside the room. Kane checks on me twice, brings me coffee the second time without asking, and at one point sits beside me and talks, which I realize is not aimless conversation but deliberate distraction. He's keeping me from spiraling. He's good at this. Practiced. You do this often? I ask during a pause. Sit with worried family members. Often enough, Kane says. It helps. People need company when they're scared, even if they insist they don't. I didn't insist anything. You were sitting very quietly in a way that suggested you were trying to convince yourself you were fine. I say nothing because he's correct. Can I ask you something? Kane says. You'll ask anyway. True, your blindness. Have you had anyone look at it recently, since the initial diagnosis? I frown. Why? Because the compound used on you, Kane says carefully, is the same family of agents as the one we've been researching for the children, and we've developed treatments that work at a cellular level on exactly this kind of damage. He pauses. I'm not promising anything. Your case is different from the children's, but I'd like to look, if you'd allow it. The hope that moves through me is painful. I've learned to be careful with hope. Hope is a resource that runs out if you spend it carelessly. I've been rationing it for 6 weeks. Look at what? I say, keeping my voice level. I'm blind, there's nothing to look at. There is, Kane says gently. There's quite a lot to look at actually. You just need the right tools and someone who knows what they're looking for. I'm quiet for a long time. After Hana's session, I say finally, you can look after Hana. Of course, Kane says, always Hana first, that's exactly right. The door to the treatment room opens. Hana's voice emerges, slightly tired but intact. Ryo, he calls. Kane said the machine might have a name, but we have to earn the right to know it. Isn't that interesting? Very interesting, I call back. I think its name starts with M, Hana announces with great confidence. I'm going to figure it out. Of course you are, I say. I hear Kane laugh softly beside me, and then from further down the corridor the quiet sound of Sable's footsteps approaching. Cedar and rain, already becoming something I navigate by, something I find myself orienting toward without deciding to. My brother is being treated, we are safe. Someone is apologizing for things that aren't their fault, and someone else is making my brother laugh about dragon names. I don't know what any of this is becoming, I don't have words for it yet. But for the first time in 6 weeks, in the warm 4th floor air with its smell of coffee and cedar and possibility, I think something is shifting. The long, careful darkness is changing its quality, becoming something I can move through rather than just endure. That night in the small bedroom of the secure suite, I lie awake listening to Hana breathe in the next room. His breathing sounds better, already, just one session and it sounds marginally, measurably, undeniably better. I press my hand flat against the wall between our rooms. We're here, I think, we're safe. I found the wrong floor and it led us exactly where we needed to be. I don't know yet about sight, don't know about the people who did this, Don't know how the next 2 weeks unfold or what comes after. But Hana is breathing better. For tonight, that's enough. Day 4 in the 4th floor suite, and Hana has named the treatment machine. Its name is Mordecai. He arrived at this after 3 days of careful observation, during which he studied the machine's sounds, its rhythms, the way it hummed at different frequencies during different parts of the session. Kane accepted this information with complete seriousness, updated the label on the machine's intake form to include the name in parentheses, and told Hana that Mordecai seemed pleased. My brother has never been happier in his life. I sit in the chair beside Hana's treatment bed and listen to all of this and feel something happening inside me that I don't have clean language for. It's not just gratitude. Gratitude is simpler. This is something that lives deeper, something that has roots, something that has been quietly growing in the dark the way things do when nobody is watching. Sable comes every morning at 7. He brings coffee, one for me and one for himself, and sits in the chair on the other side of the treatment room, and we talk while Kane runs Hana's session. We talk about the investigation, about the compound, its origins, the company behind it, the network of people profiting from keeping Omega children sick and dependent on treatments only they can provide. We talk about evidence, about legal strategy, about the 2 informants inside Crescent Medical they've already identified and quietly removed from positions of access. But we also talk about other things. He tells me about growing up in a family that valued control above everything else. About learning to manage himself into something acceptable and discovering too late that acceptable and happy are not the same word. About the half-brother who arrived when Sable was 12, all warm chaos and easy laughter, who Sable resented for 3 years and then quietly, reluctantly loved. I tell him about Hana at 2 years old, standing in the doorway of our parents' bedroom after our mother left, holding a stuffed rabbit by one ear, not crying, just looking. The specific gravity of that image that I've carried for 6 years like a stone I've learned to walk with. I tell him about the night I was attacked, the steps I was counting, the smell of the compound before my eyes registered anything was wrong, the 8 months of learning to navigate a world that wasn't built for me and the smaller daily dignities of it, the things I'm proud of, the things that still break me a little. Sable listens the way he does everything, completely, like you're the only thing in the room worth attending to. On the morning of day 5, he says, Kane wants to run your evaluation today. I know, I say. You don't have to, he says. There's no obligation. The treatment may not work for your specific case, and if it doesn't, we don't want you to have hoped for something. I've already hoped, I say quietly. I've been hopping since day 1. The hopping isn't the dangerous part. He's quiet for a moment. What's the dangerous part? I think about this, about the careful economy of hope I've been running for 6 weeks, for 6 years really. Hopping alone, I say finally. That's the dangerous part, hopping and having nobody to hope with you. The silence that follows is warm, different from other silences. You're not hopping alone, Sable says. I turn toward his voice, find his face with my eyes the way I've been learning to find things by triangulating from sound and warmth and scent. I can't see him, but I know where he is. No, I say, I'm not. Kane's evaluation takes 2 hours. He's thorough and gentle and explains everything in the same way he explains things to Hana, which is to say completely and without condescension. He describes what he's seeing through his instruments. The nature of the cellular damage, the layers of it, where it's concentrated, where it's thinner, the pathways that are blocked and the ones that are merely disrupted. Disrupted is different from destroyed, he says at one point. How different, I ask. Destroyed means permanent, disrupted means... He pauses, choosing his word carefully. Interrupted, like a road that's been blocked rather than demolished. The road is still there, we just need to clear the obstruction. In my roads, I say. Mostly disrupted, he says. Some destruction in the peripheral zones, but the central pathways... He stops, I hear him set something down. Ryo, your central pathways are largely intact, the damage concentrated at the surface layers, which means... It could be reversed, I say, my voice comes out very carefully. I believe so, Kane says. I want to be honest with you, I believe so strongly enough that I want to start your protocol alongside Hana's. Modified version, different delivery, but the same underlying mechanism. He pauses. There are no guarantees. Medicine doesn't do guarantees, but if I had to put a number on it. Don't, I say, don't put a number on it, just tell me what we need to do. Same as Hana, Kane says, 4 sessions, 2 weeks, and then we see what we see. He says it so simply. And then we see what we see, like it's ordinary, like the possibility of seeing my brother's face again is an ordinary thing that ordinary words can hold. I press my hands flat on my knees and breathe. Start today, I say. Today, Kane confirms, and then more gently, Ryo, you should know that Sable has been asking me about your case every day since you arrived, before your sessions even started, just asking, just wanting to understand what was possible. I don't say anything. He's not good at expressing things, Kane continues pleasantly. He was raised by people who considered emotional expression a structural weakness, which is a horrible thing to do to a child. So he expresses things through action instead, through being present, through learning the details of someone's medical case because knowing is the closest he can get to fixing it. You're telling me this why, I ask. Because you're perceptive and careful and you've spent a long time protecting yourself and your brother and learning not to need people, Kane says. And I think sometimes perceptive, careful people need someone to just say the obvious thing out loud so they have permission to acknowledge it. I sit with this. The obvious thing, I say. He's already yours, Kane says simply. He's just waiting to see if you'll have him. Investigation breaks open on day 8. I'm in the sitting room when it happens, listening to Hana read aloud from one of his dragon books, his voice stronger now, more breath behind it, the wet rattling quality that's haunted me for 3 weeks almost entirely gone. He's reading about water dragons, their territories, their habits. He reads with the slightly dramatic inflection of someone who knows they have an audience and is performing for them, which he is, because Sable is sitting across from him listening with what sounds, based on the quality of his silence, like complete genuine attention. Sable is good with Hana in a different way than Kane. Kane is warmth and play and easy affection. Sable is steadiness. He answers Hana's questions directly, treats his opinions seriously, never talks down to him. Hana clocked this on day 2 and responded to it the way he responds to everything he respects, with focus and loyalty. He started calling Sable by name without the polite distance he usually keeps with adults. Just Sable, like they've known each other longer than 8 days. My phone buzzes, Kane's voice through the speaker, tight with controlled urgency. Come to the office now, bring Sable. The 3rd informant has been found. Not removed quietly like the first 2. Found because they made a move. Because someone in the organization behind the compound decided that 14 months of investigation was long enough and it was time to end things more directly. They sent someone into the building. Security caught them on the 2nd floor, Kane says. He's moving while he talks. I can track him by sound and scent, the rapid amber smoke pace of someone working through urgency with action. They were carrying a data wipe device, designed to destroy our research servers remotely once deployed. Did they deploy it? Sable asks. His voice has shifted into something I haven't heard before, stripped of its usual careful containment. Operational, sharp. No, we have physical backups off-site. They didn't know that. A pause. But they were also carrying something else, a secondary device targeted to the residential suite. The room goes very quiet. Hana, I say. He's fine, Kane says immediately. Security has him. He's in the inner room, it's shielded, he's completely fine. I need you to hear that first. I'm already moving toward the door. Sable's hand finds my arm, not restraining, just present. He's fine, Sable says quietly, directly to me. Kane would not be standing here calmly talking if Hana wasn't fine. I stop, breathe, he's right. Kane is not a man who could calmly discuss logistics if my brother was in danger. He would be somewhere else entirely, doing something about it. Okay, I say, my voice shakes slightly. Okay, what does the secondary device tell us? That they know you're here, Kane says. That they know Hana is being treated. And that they've decided the research isn't the only thing they want to stop. They want to stop the witnesses, Sable says. Yes. A pause, then Sable says, the informant in custody, are they talking? Enthusiastically, Kane says, with a dark edge I haven't heard from him before. Apparently, the security team was very persuasive. We have a name, the executive responsible for the compound program, a man named Director Harlan Voss. The silence that follows is different from any silence I've heard in this building. Voss, I say carefully. Our father, Sable says, his voice is completely flat, completely still, the kind of still that is the opposite of calm. Half Kane says quietly, our half-father, since we're being precise. I stand in the middle of the room and listen to the two of them be still with this information. The weight of it, the specific terrible shape of it. A man who made them. Who is responsible for 8 children sick, 1 dead. Who blinded me to stop me from finding out. Who has been trying to destroy their work for 14 months, not from corporate competition but from something more specific, more personal, the particular cruelty of someone who knows exactly what he's trying to take from you. How long have you suspected? I ask. 3 months, Sable says. We had partial evidence, not enough. Now we have enough, Kane says. Another silence. Then Sable says very quietly, I'm sorry, that this is connected to us, to our name, that you and Hana were hurt by someone who shares our blood. You didn't do it, I say. No, he says, but I. Sable, I turn toward him, find him the way I've been learning to find him. You didn't do it, say that clearly. A long pause, I didn't do it, he says. Right, now tell me what we do next. What we do next takes 4 days. It involves lawyers, law enforcement contacts, the careful assembly of evidence into an unassailable structure. It involves Kane on the phone for 6 hours straight one day, his pleasant voice gone professional and precise, building the legal case brick by careful brick. It involves Sable at his desk through the night, and me beside him because I can't sleep anyway and because his cedar rain scent in the dark has become something I navigate by, something that orients me. We talk through those nights, about the case, about the future of the research, about what happens to the other families, the other children when this is over, about the treatment being made available freely, publicly, without the gatekeeping of people who profit from keeping Omegas vulnerable. About other things too. He tells me about the first time he understood what the company really was. 16 years old, finding documents that didn't add up, bringing them to his father and being told clearly and without cruelty that some things were better not understood. Learning to be a good son, which meant learning to not look. He stopped being a good son, he says, when he was 28 and Kane showed up at his door with evidence that couldn't be explained away. You chose your brother over your father, I say. He's a better person than our father, Sable says simply. It wasn't difficult. Most people find it difficult, I say, to choose against family. He is my family, Sable says. The other man is just someone I share DNA with. I find his hand in the dark. He turns his palm up immediately like he was already waiting. My sessions end tomorrow, I say. Hana's too. I know, he says. And after that, I pause. There's no medical reason for us to stay. His hand tightens slightly around mine. No, he says, no medical reason. Are there other reasons, I ask. The silence is short, just a breath. Yes, Sable says, there are other reasons, there are. He stops, starts again with the careful precision of someone choosing each word like it matters because for him it does. You walked onto the wrong floor and I felt something shift, like something that had been slightly misaligned for a long time suddenly found its position. And another pause. I've been trying to decide whether to say this or continue not saying it. Say what I say. I don't want you to leave, he says. I want you here, both of you. I want to know what Hana names next. I want to bring you coffee and argue with Kane about definitions and sit beside you while the city wakes up outside the window you can't see through yet. A breath. Yet, because Kane thinks the treatment is working. He told me last night. He didn't want to tell you until he was certain, but he told me because he knows I would. He stops. He knows I would need to know. I sit with all of this. The dark around me and his hand in mine and the cedar rain scent that has become home faster than anything has ever become home to me. The treatment is working, I say. He thinks so, thinks you should have clarity within the week, possibly sooner. The hope rises, bright and almost painful. I let it. Don't ration it this time. Let it be as large as it wants to be because I'm not hopping alone and that changes everything. I don't want to leave either, I say. I want to stay, I pause, find the right words, they're simpler than I expected. I want to see your face, that's the first thing I want to see. His breath goes slightly unsteady, just barely, just enough to hear. Then stay, he says. We'll stay, I say. The bandages come off on a Tuesday morning. Kane removes them with the same careful gentleness he does everything, layer by layer. His amber smoke scents steady, professional, but underneath it's something hopeful that he isn't quite containing. Sable is in the room, I can feel him. His stillness, his weight, his scent. He hasn't said anything since we came in, just present the way he's always present. Hana is holding my hand. He recovered his sight 2 days ago. I wasn't there for that moment. I was in my own session. But he described it to me afterward with the precise, detailed enthusiasm of someone giving a full report. He said the first thing he saw clearly was Kane's face. He said Kane cried. He said he didn't mention this to Kane because it seemed like something Kane would prefer to be private. I love my brother enormously. Ready, Kane says. No, I say, do it anyway. Last layer of gauze, the pressure releases. Open slowly, Kane says, the light will be significant. I open my eyes. Light, real light, not the memory of it or the imagination of it, but actual present light pouring in. It's overwhelming and shapeless, and I close my eyes again immediately and press my free hand against my mouth. Take your time, Kane says gently. I open them again, slower, let the light come in degrees. Shapes forming, the room assembling itself around me piece by piece. The medical bed, the equipment, Kane standing in front of me, his face still blurry but present, real there. Then I turn. Sable. He's standing by the wall and he's watching me with an expression I don't have a word for yet. Something open, something that his managed, careful face doesn't usually allow. Dark eyes and sharp features, and something in his expression that is entirely, completely, unguardedly him. He's beautiful. That's the first coherent thought I have, not in a simple way. In a complicated way, the way things are beautiful when they've been earned, when you've learned their shape in the dark before you ever saw them in the light. How'd I say? My voice breaks slightly. Hi, he says back. Hana tugs my hand. I look down at my brother. His face. His dark hair and wide eyes and the small, serious mouth that breaks into smiles that feel like gifts because they've always been earned, never given freely. He's looking up at me with an expression that is trying very hard to be composed and failing completely. You can see me, he says. I can see you, I confirm. He makes a sound that is not crying but is also not crying and wraps both arms around my waist and holds on. I hold him back. Above his head, I look at Sable and Sable looks at me and something passes between us that doesn't need words. We found each other, that's what it says. We found each other in the dark and now we can see. The arrest of Harlan Voss happens on a Thursday. It is, by all accounts I received through Kane's running commentary, deeply satisfying. The evidence assembled over 4 careful days is thorough enough that no lawyer in the country can dismantle it. The compound program is exposed. The company's executives are named. The network of distribution, the doctors paid to misdiagnose, the pharmacies paid to provide inadequate treatment, all of it comes apart in the clean way that things come apart when someone has been patient and precise and has kept good records. 11 children are identified as affected, all of them now eligible for treatment. The research goes public. The treatment protocol is released freely, available to any medical provider, impossible to suppress. Kane gives an interview. He is charming and clear and quietly devastating in his description of what was done and to whom. He does not mention his father by name. He doesn't need to. The documents do it for him. Sable gives no interviews. He stays in the background, which is where he prefers to be, and makes sure everything is correct and nothing is missed and every person who needs to be protected is protected. I sit with Hana in the sitting room and we listen to the city outside the window. I can see it now. The buildings, the sky, the specific quality of afternoon light falling across the floor in long rectangles. Hana is drawing. A blue dragon with careful scales, each one a slightly different shade, because water dragons are not one single blue but all the blues, he explains, that exist in cold rivers. Are we staying? He asks without looking up from his drawing. Do you want to stay? I ask. He considers this with the seriousness he gives important questions. Mordecai is here, he says, and Kane and Sable. He adds a scale to the dragon's wing. And you're happy here, you smell different when you're happy, I noticed. You noticed, I say. I notice things, he says modestly. I look at my brother's face, the face I couldn't see for 6 weeks. The face I can see now, tilted over his drawing, entirely concentrated, entirely himself. We're staying, I say. He nods like this is what he expected, adds another scale. That evening Sable finds me at the window. I'm watching the sunset, still relearning the specific pleasure of watching the way light changes, the way the city shifts colors as the day ends. He stands beside me, close, his shoulder almost touching mine. The case is closed, he says, officially as of an hour ago. I know, I say, Kane called. So you don't need to be here anymore, he says carefully. For medical reasons, for safety reasons, everything that brought you here is resolved. Everything that brought me here, I agree. A pause. There are other reasons, I say, remember. I feel more than hear him exhale. Yes, he says, there are. I turn from the window, face him directly. I can see him now, this face I've been building from voice and scent and warmth and the careful weight of his presence beside me in the dark. The real version of him matches the one I built. Matches it and exceeds it simultaneously, the way real things always exceed imagination. I want to say something clearly, I say, because you communicate in careful language and I want to make sure nothing is lost in precision. All right, he says. I'm staying because this is where I want to be. Because Hana is happy here and I haven't seen him happy like this in years. Because Kane is the best person I've met and I refuse to give up regular access to him. I pause. And because you bring me coffee every morning and sit with me while the city wakes up and you apologize for things that aren't your fault and you learn the details of my medical case because knowing is how you love people and I stop, take a breath. And I don't want to not know you. I want to know you for a very long time if that's something you want. The silence is short, just one breath. It's everything I want, Sable says. It's what I've been trying to find the right words to say for 8 days. You found them, I say. You said them, he points out. We found them together, I say, that's allowed. He reaches out and his hand finds my face, careful and questioning, waiting. I lean into it. His palm against my cheek, warm and steady and so entirely him. May I, he asks. Yes, I say, please. He kisses me, soft and precise and completely without performance, just honest, just real, just Sable with all his management finally completely set aside. When we step apart, Hana's voice floats from down the hall. Ryo, he calls. Kane says dinner is ready and also that the sunset is good tonight, but you probably already know that. I know, I call back. Are you coming? I look at Sable, he looks at me. Something settles between us, quiet and permanent, like something that has been searching, finding its place. We're coming, I say. Months later, when people ask how we met, I tell them the truth. I miscounted stairs. I pushed through the wrong door. I ended up on a restricted floor that I had no business being on, with my white cane and my borrowed dignity and my brother's prescription folded in my pocket. And there was a man who smelled like rain and cedar who said he would escort me back to public access and instead ended up somewhere I hadn't known I was trying to reach. I got lost, the way you get lost in the dark, in the specific darkness that feels like it has no end. And then something shifted. And then someone was there, and then slowly and then all at once I could see again. Not just with my eyes, that too, but also the larger seeing, the kind that doesn't require light. Hana names things carefully, my brother. Waits until he knows someone before he gives them a name. It took him 3 days to name Mordecai. It took him 8 days to call Kane and Sable by name without the polite distance he keeps with adults. But one evening, about a month after we moved in, he looked up from his dragon drawing and said to both of them casually, like it was simply a fact he was reporting. You're our family now, I decided. Kane made a sound I've never heard from him before. Sable went very still in the specific way he goes still when something has gotten past all his management. Yes, Sable said finally, quietly, we are. Good, Hana said, added a scale to his dragon. I'm going to draw all of us. I need to figure out what kind of dragons we are first, though. It takes time to know. We have time, Kane said. His voice was rough around the edges. He's not as good at hiding it as he thinks. We have lots of time, Hana agreed cheerfully. He was right, we did. We do. Sometimes you miscount the stairs. Sometimes you end up somewhere you were never supposed to be. Sometimes the wrong floor, the wrong door, the wrong turn in the dark leads you to the thing you didn't know you were looking for. I got lost. And then I was found. And now I can see. Now please hit that subscribe button, and before you go, like this video has 50 like target, I hope you will don it.